This program is presented by University of California Television. Like what you learn? Visit our website or follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the latest UCTV programs.
Tonight on CNS, we take you to the streets of Oakland where protesters react to the Ferguson decision. To Richmond, where Chevron is facing legal consequences after an explosion at their refinery. And to the Central Valley, where there's an ongoing battle over natural resources. These stories and more on CNS. Welcome to CNS. I'm Vanessa Reyes-Walker.
And I'm Hannah Lawson. Let's begin in Oakland, where protesters took to the streets after a grand jury decision not to indict the officer who shot and killed Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. Tom Goulding has the story.
For 2 weeks, Oakland was the scene of protests, some peaceful, some violent. On Saturday, Berkeley became the epicenter for voices against police brutality. Police from around the Bay Area joined Berkeley PD, shutting down protests with a mixture of batons, rubber bullets, and tear gas. Then on Sunday, police took the opposite approach, with virtually no presence around that evening's march. Officers blocked access only to the police station, which led to an angry standoff. As the crowd walked towards Oakland, around 100 protesters managed to get onto Highway 24, blocking eastbound traffic. Highway Patrol moved the protesters down the exit, arresting 8 people in the process. Along Telegraph Avenue, vandalism began, followed by clashes as some protesters tried to stop the violence. Looters ransacked Whole Foods on Telegraph. By 1 a.m., the remaining rioters ignited trash fires before finally heading home. Berkeley police arrested 10 people over the weekend. For CNS, I'm Tom Goulding.
The future of the largest community college in California is in limbo. An accrediting commission says the school faces insurmountable financial problems, but the city attorney is challenging that finding in court. Alex K. Kawoha reports.
City College of San Francisco has been fighting to stay open for more than 2 years. Now students and faculty await the outcome of a lawsuit filed by City Attorney Dennis Herrera. Deputy City Attorney Sarah Eisenberg says a previous evaluation of the school was unjust.
City Attorney Herrera believed that it was critically important for City College to get a fair shake and to get a fair evaluation of its accreditation because of how important the institution is to all of the people in San Francisco.
City College is primarily a commuter school, serving more than 70,000 students, many with mixed feelings about the possible closure of their school.
The thing is, for all the students here, I think eventually we developed this sort of love for the school, because, the teachers, they all care, they all want to push us to move forward, and, there's a reason to be here.
They've done everything they can to make this place excellent in what it is, and what historically is provided for the community.
In its evaluation, the commission said the college is offering too many classes to too many students with too little money. The commission threatened to pull the school's accreditation and shut it down unless the school's problems were solved.
The education we were offering was fantastic. Even the accrediting commission has not accused us of misserving our students.
Elisa Messer teaches English at City College and defended the school in court last month.
They've simply accused us of not having enough money, which no one was really in a place to deny that we didn't have enough money. We had been cut by millions and millions of dollars.
City College remains open, but should it close, students like Jeans Galvin say it would be disastrous for the city.
Without CCSF and without all the programs that they provide and all the safe spaces they provide, all the activism they provide, I feel like the city would implode on itself.
Both sides have made their case to the court, and the judge is expected to make a final ruling in the next few weeks. For CNS, I'm Alex Kekuoha.
Just a few decades ago, most high schools offered shop class or home economics. Today, a new program in California aims to give students a similar kind of vocational training to prepare them for modern-day careers. Fabiola Leyva tells us more.
De Anza is one of many California high schools offering its students programs called academies, where they can focus on future careers.
I think before the academies were introduced, a lot of students would kind of come to school and, yeah, I have to learn math and I have to learn English, but they didn't see first how those classes connected to each other.
Here at De Anza, students can choose among 4 academies: ROTC, Health, Technology, and Law. Juana Parra is a student in the Law Academy.
The Law Academy opens new doors and new experiences, and it lets you see a different point of view.
These students are getting real-world experiences and real lawyers as mentors.
When you have an objection, either make the objection or don't. It's not a good form to be like, objection, I think.
I have a mentor that's a lawyer and another mentor that's a lawyer, but he works in a firm. So it's kind of cool knowing how an independent lawyer works and a lawyer that works in a firm, how different they are, but how similar they could be too.
300 students are in De Anza's Law Academy. They start as sophomores and stay for 3 years. And they evaluate real-life cases.
The defense will say she was not in her full, complete state of mind. Her faculties were compromised. So you cannot say that she gave consent if she was not sober. And now, you are now up on rape charges.
The Law Academy receives about $65,000 from the state, and it seems to be paying off.
When I talk to my students, what I hear from them is that the academies have absolutely changed their life.
Her 2 years in this class have convinced Juana she wants to be a lawyer.
My dream job is to be a lawyer, so I really like being here because it gives me an idea of what being a lawyer is going to be like.
The Law Academy has already sent a few students on to college and intends to send many more in the future. For CNS, I'm Fabiola Leyva.
The University of California Board of Regents is proposing to raise tuition at UC campuses by more than 27% in the next 5 years. But Governor Jerry Brown opposes this plan, as do many students. Melina Tupa has the story.
Demonstrations over increased tuition fees got physical last month. Even Regent Bonnie Rice had a hard time getting in. UC administrators met in San Francisco to approve a plan they say is painful but necessary. That's little comfort to students who feel they are already living on the economic edge.
I'm already working, I'm already in debt, and my mom already had to take so much money out of her retirement. So a tuition hike would just make all those issues worse. I'm already probably going to be in debt till I die.
And we already pay too much, and there's thousands of university employees who make well over $200,000 a year. And so if retirement and pension costs are the problem, how about pay your executives less?
But reducing executive salaries may only make a small dent in a much larger problem. Since 2007, the state has slashed funding for the UC system by $400 million.
This plan brings clarity to the tuition and financial aid process for our students and their families. It eliminates the need for a massive tuition increase in the future.
UC officials say that 55% of all California undergraduates pay no tuition nor fees, and that won't change under the new plan.
The way tuition is designed in the University of California is that 1 out of every 3 tuition dollars is directed to financial aid. So obviously when tuition goes up, the amount of resources available for financial aid goes up.
That may be true, say student activists, but financial aid only covers half of tuition on average, leaving many students still struggling to make up the shortfall. For CNS, I'm Melina Tupa.
The choice of TV personality Bill Maher as commencement speaker at Cal's fall graduation is a major source of debate on campus. This comes at a time when UC Berkeley is celebrating its 50th anniversary of the free speech movement. Samani Gashaw has more on the story.
Bill Maher as Berkeley's graduation speaker, that's all it took. Complaints focus on Maher's comments on Islam.
It's the only religion that acts like the mafia, that can kill you if you say the wrong thing.
6,000 students signed a petition to disinvite Maher, calling his language offensive and dangerous rhetoric. ASUC Senator Maryam Naveed started the petition.
A lot of students were concerned with this choice because based off of a lot of the things that Bill Maher has said on his show, they were not completely comfortable with giving this individual an elevated position at their commencement.
Chancellor Nicholas Dirks rejected the students' petition. His reasoning, as read by a UC spokesperson, was because
it appeared to have been based solely on Mr. Maher's opinions and beliefs that he conveyed through constitutionally protected speech.
I think Berkeley, as a school that has stood for free speech, should sort of own up to its reputation and let him speak, even if he is an idiot.
I understand that he has free speech and he has every right to speak on campus. I'm totally okay with that, but speaking as a commencement speaker is a privilege and an honor that, frankly, in my opinion, he has not earned.
Maher said, despite the controversy, he still expects to come to Berkeley.
And they invited me because it was the 50th anniversary of something that is legendary on that campus, the Berkeley Free Speech Movement.
And he reassured Cal students.
This will be your day. This is a commencement speech. The issue is you.
ASUC senators then invited the comedian to be part of a public forum.
Because freedom of speech isn't just about sitting on a podium and speaking. It's about creating an atmosphere where you have equal dialogue, where you have transparency, because that's what the essence of freedom of speech is, and that's what we as students wanted to embody.
Maher passed on the invitation to the forum, but he will be here on December 20th when almost 500 students will graduate. But a handful of them say that they will not attend the ceremony. Others say that they will attend but plan to turn their backs on Maher during his speech. For CNS, I'm Samani Gashaw.
In Oakland, like many urban cities, violence tends to beget violence. But one program is using artistic expression to break the cycle of bloodshed. Dina Mitchell has the story.
Yeah, East Oakland, land of the murder. You looking at me up and down and I'm just buying the burger. Proud to be black. Stop hating up on my race before you get overlapped. Express myself through this music, the reason why I don't lose it.
DeMonte Wilson never saw the person who shot him in the neck.
We were just driving and then somebody pulled up to the car and shot in the car, so I didn't see anything. I just was wondering if I was gonna make it.
According to law enforcement, Oakland has the highest per capita violent crime rate of any big city in California.
Just living in Oakland, just things happen like that sometimes.
Tomas Alvarez runs a community group focused on addressing the violence. He says the toll is not just physical, it's also psychological.
Young people growing up in communities of concentrated disadvantage that demonstrate high rates of violence and crime, they never leave the war zone. You take a kid who's lost 10 people in the last 3 years and hasn't had the opportunity to really grieve. I started with looking at how these young folks were already helping and healing themselves. And what I noticed was that they were turning to hip hop.
We used to talk every day, now we don't talk at all.
So Alvarez partnered with local hip hop artist Rob Jackson to create a formalized program that they call Hip Hop Therapy.
It's about transforming the narratives, creating a corrective emotional experience, and we really try to teach them resiliency. They've survived, and they're survivors.
No longer just a participant, Wilson now leads training sessions for the program.
So would y'all say like the media has like the most control over this?
Rap was born in the late 1970s as a response to the struggle of urban life in African American communities.
Hip-hop was created in a time where like people didn't have hope. People started picking their speakers up into their cars and playing them around the city, and people started having fun. And basically that was like the medicine for what was going on outside the world.
And the same can be said for hip-hop today. For CNS, I'm Dina Mitchell.
Oakland City Council recently voted to broaden its law on what they call nuisance evictions. This move has sparked frustration and blowback from residents and community groups. Pallavi Somusetti reports.
Could it be any clearer that the solution is not
not to make us homeless, for doing what we can just to get by.
It's called the nuisance eviction ordinance, and some fear it means they'll get kicked out of their homes.
At a time when tenants in Oakland need all the help they can get, the nuisance eviction ordinance must be abolished.
The ordinance forces landlords to evict sex workers and other groups at the city's request. Sex worker advocates feel it will displace low-income people, people of color, and the LGBT community.
The city of Oakland is saying to me by this ordinance that our community is disposable.
City officials disagree.
We're not interested in going after sex workers because they're sex workers. We can't under current law, we can't under eviction law.
Very concerning to me, the idea of the city of Oakland ordering landlords to evict my clients. That is very, very concerning.
Types of actions we've taken in closing down motels in the past has been targeted towards those that engage in the human trafficking. We don't have the resources, nor do we want to get into dealing with individual adult prostitutes who are engaging in this as a trade, so to speak.
Despite Ilgen's assurances, some sex workers still fear they'll lose their homes.
Why have a law if you're not going to use it?
Jane, who asked that we not use her real name, is a single mom. She engages in sex work to provide for her 2 children.
I would lose my sons if I can't put a roof over their head. And that's what frightens me.
The city has not evicted any sex workers since the ordinance went into effect. Nevertheless, activists continue to worry.
In a lot of cases, I feel like our communities will want to just not deal with it and move out. And it's going to really kind of just put our communities out in the street.
For CNS, I'm Pallavi Somusetti.
The Chevron oil company has had a major presence in Richmond for decades. But after a fire at its refinery, city officials decided to take legal action. Sean Baldwin has more.
A series of explosions and fires tore through Chevron's Richmond refinery 2 years ago. 5 minutes after the explosion, toxic smoke drifted over neighborhoods and into homes.
My initial reaction was just shock. You know, I've never heard an explosion as loud as that. I've never heard an explosion where you actually felt it. I was scared.
Thousands went to area hospitals complaining of respiratory problems and other ailments. Reverend Kenneth Davis was one of them.
There was over 15,000 people in this community alone that have been impacted by that fire over at the Chevron refinery.
And like many, Reverend Davis will not forget or forgive Chevron.
Every waking moment that I look out my window, I see Chevron. And I'm reminded of the accident.
Chevron pleaded no contest to state and county charges of negligence and paid $2 million in fines.
If that's all the hand slap that you get for a major fire due to negligence, you know, it's a profitable way to run a business.
Newly elected City Councilman Eduardo Martinez is promoting Richmond's lawsuit against Chevron with renewed vigor.
It's important for the City of Richmond to continue pursuing this lawsuit because that's the only way that we'll be able to hold Chevron accountable for how they do business.
The city is seeking unspecified damages, including compensation for emergency response, environmental cleanup, and loss of property values. Chevron would not talk with CNS News, but in a statement said the city's lawsuit is meritless. The city's biggest taxpayer and supporter of nonprofits said they have provided $10 million to area hospitals, local agencies, and responded to valid claims.
And $10 million is nothing, you know, compared to the amount of damage, you know, that's happened.
Analysts say the new city council will try to negotiate a larger settlement, but no one knows how long that will take.
If I was to raise a family, have more kids, even if I was just to have a wife here, I wouldn't feel okay living here.
But Strobel says for now, the health risks of living near a refinery aren't enough to make him leave Richmond. I'm Sean Baldwin for CNS News.
Contra Costa County is reaching out to immigrants who arrive here and have little or no understanding of how the health insurance system works. Reporter Loy Almiron takes us to a session for the Asian and Pacific Islander community in Richmond.
Max Chow is from Laos and speaks Mien. He is now living in Pinole. One of his priorities is to get health insurance. But Max has limited English skills, and that became a problem when he tried to get health insurance. Like Max, Josephine Binalimbing needs help from her daughter, Joanne, when she goes to the doctor.
So I think having a translator on hand makes things a lot faster and a lot easier for both the parents and the children present. It makes sure that you're getting the most out of your healthcare.
Minsan kasi yung iba hindi nag-apply dahil nahiya sila magsalita, ganon. Siyempre, kukuha sila na interpreter, di ba?
Asian and Pacific Islanders are considered vulnerable in understanding health insurance. That's why volunteers here are communicating in 17 different languages, such as Tagalog, Samoan, and Tongan. It's the first time that it's happened anywhere in California and even in the United States.
They're often a forgotten group when it comes to looking at outreach for healthcare. There's about 1.7 million Asian and Pacific Islanders who are uninsured in this country. So we wanted to focus on this population. There's a large Southeast Asian population here in West Contra Costa.
There's still a lot of people who either didn't understand the mandate or need more information or whose situations have changed.
About 200 came to the event, but only 42 were able to enroll in health insurance. Most of those who came didn't have the documents they needed to apply. Joya says that's at least a start.
I think with an event like today, the people who come will go back and tell their family and friends and neighbors that, look, they can get help in a way that is meaningful, and they will come to the next event in greater numbers. So that's our hope.
While Max waits, the county will continue its efforts to bring more uninsured minorities into the system. For CNS, I'm Loy Almiron.
We now take you to the Central Valley, where farmers are in a mad scramble to soak up one of the world's most precious resources. New state rules will regulate groundwater, but they won't kick in for 20 years. Ethan Bien has more on the fight for water.
With the winter rain finally falling, it's easy to think California's 4-year drought is over. But farmers who depend on water for their livelihood will tell you a different story.
We got about 1/4 of an inch last night, which is a nice rain. Gets the mud sticking to your boots. I don't have to irrigate for about 3 days. That's the effect. It's not going to do anything for our groundwater.
Last year, Chris Hayes' farm went dry, costing him $80,000 worth of crops.
It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. So I was trying to keep everybody employed and keep the farm running and pay our bills.
Now Hay is going to do what hundreds of farmers across the state are doing. He's drilling a groundwater well.
People are putting their straws in if they don't have them. That's the only way to stay in business.
A lot of these straws are feeding new almond trees, which are being planted at a record rate, driven by high almond prices. The problem is, almonds require a lot of water and are displacing drought-tolerant crops on the land surrounding Hayes' farm.
It's kind of astounding and alarming the rate at which trees are going in. That's the scary part. Is that the best use of our resource, to pump drinking water, to irrigate almonds, to ship to China?
Groundwater is a shared, but also finite resource. This year, the number of wells in the Central Valley has more than doubled, causing groundwater levels to plummet.
And it really was a race to the bottom. Whoever could sink the deepest well had access to the water. The most vulnerable have been disproportionately impacted by the drought this summer.
It all comes down to money, and many Central Valley residents can't afford to lower their wells to keep up with falling groundwater levels while the big farms drill on. Poplar, California sits atop a groundwater reserve it shares with citrus, dairy, grape, and almond farms. Poplar's groundwater has dropped over 10 feet in the last 3 years. In May, wells began to go dry.
Los pozos, como no sube mucha agua.
Not even enough to cover the basics. Garcia has to buy bottled water for drinking, cooking, and cleaning. This puts residents like her in an awkward position. The farms are robbing them of water in their homes, but are their best hope for employment in the fields.
Sí, porque queremos agua para que tengan los rancheros, no queremos afectarlos, pero pues al mismo tiempo nosotros somos los afectados.
Chris Hay faces a similar irony. He is a potential casualty of the race for groundwater, and now a participant as well.
So this is the test site. Hopefully right here is where we're going to find water.
Hay is going underground and into debt in a last-ditch effort to save his farm. Even a shallow well costs over $100,000 to complete, with no guarantee of success.
It's kind of high-stakes gambling. A guy right around the corner has done 3 test holes and has nothing.
California recently passed rules to monitor and regulate the use of groundwater, but the laws don't take full effect until 2040. The race to the bottom is still on, and farmers like Hay are facing a very uncertain future.
If we don't find water, we may have to stop farming.
For CNS News, this is Ethan Behan with Daphne Matsuyaraki and James Pace Cornsilk.
There are more restaurants in San Francisco per capita than any other city in the nation, and that means more tips. But with the minimum wage rising to $15 an hour by 2018, some places are reconsidering gratuities, and tipping may disappear. Ellie Schmidt-Hopper reports.
In Bay Area restaurants, good service means good tips.
I usually tip about 20% on the total amount. If the food is good and the service is good, I'm willing to do that.
But in some restaurants, leaving a tip may become a thing of the past.
I think a lot of people in the industry had always thought, wouldn't it be nice?
Service charge might be nice for owners who'll pay a higher minimum wage by 2018.
The proximity of a $15 minimum wage, I think, got a lot of people talking and sort of, freshened the conversation.
The extra cash from the service charge will go to all the staff instead of just the servers.
The biggest catalyst is wanting to reward back-of-the-house staff and wanting to attract good back-of-the-house kitchen staff.
On the roasted lamb dish. Although servers may take a bit of a pay cut from the new system, many say they like the increased fairness.
I don't personally have a problem with it because I give great value to the change and the opportunity to take a couple steps in the direction of greater economic justice.
But for some people, an automatic service charge misses the point.
And the idea of a tip is it's a gratuity. It's something you do gratis. It's extra. It's something based on your feeling about the place or the individual that's serving you. So I'm not sure if having it included in the bill is something I would want.
At restaurants switching to service charges, diners may have to get used to leaving a verbal tip rather than cash. For CNS, I'm Ellie Schmidt-Hopper.
That's it for tonight. From all of us at CNS, we wish you a happy holiday season.
Thank you for watching, and good night.